Welcome to the How We Work podcast. I'm David Hammond, and today we're speaking with Nadia Mitchell, an information advisor.
Hello. Nice to meet everybody, see everybody, be here. There we go. It's nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. Just before we start, when did you first find out that you're neurodivergent?
It's an interesting story. I think as a woman in my 20s, I think my story replicates many of others in the same sort of situation where my kids were roughly 4 and 5 when I started noticing some differences in just alongside their sociability with others and how they were entering, how they were coping emotionally. And I was an early childhood teacher at the time, and I kind of just threw myself into education about neurodiversity. Maybe if my children were neurodiverse, how could I make my environment at home, my environment as a teacher with them, better and more inclusive for them? But as I went further down the journey, particularly with my daughter who is ADHD and she was diagnosed quite young, it was very clear that the neurodiversity stemmed from myself. And it was surprising that it didn't get picked up on any earlier, because it's like I remember in high school as a 13-year-old girl being like, I feel like I could have ADHD, but I don't like being the centre of attention. So therefore I'm not ADHD. And it just, those interesting parallels. But once I got older and saw it in my children, I recognised that I had just kind of set myself up in life with strategies to cope and overcompensate. And with my children, I'm like, didn't really want them to experience the same thing. I wanted to have a home where they were free to do themselves and be themselves and wholeheartedly, and just without any semblance of, making themselves smaller. And it's just been a journey ever since then, really. I'm ADHD, autistic. I also have something called ARFID, which is avoidant fear restrictive intake disorder, where my sensory processing stuff alongside when I'm eating is really enhanced, so I can go through periods of that. So my journey has been one of learning for myself, but it's been learning alongside so that I can figure out what's best for my kids.
Cool. I mean, that seems really common, that a lot of people find out that they can, they have the label neurodivergent when their kids get diagnosed. It seems really common, and it seems really particular with women and girls. Really common that it happens, in their 20s, sometimes even later than that. So, what was school like?
School's an interesting one for me, because prior to probably about 13, I feel like I floated through life. Like I didn't really understand. I never understood. I didn't know when school started, for example, even though I went to school every day. I had no idea what the time was. I was just there, and I was absorbing what was around me, and I was able to, all the tests, I was able to pass those. But socially, I was just really bullied. And severely bullied. And I could never quite fit in, and I was just the weird one. I'm still very happy, but I remember when I was 13, whether or not it was to do with puberty or if it was a moment that just connected all the dots, something changed around 13 where schooling for me in high school became exceptionally hard. Socially, I was working very hard to become somebody's friend and, strategically create a personality that people would gravitate to. And so I learnt the best ways to do my hair, the best ways to do makeup, the best ways to respond to things by watching those in my environment who were popular, who had lots of friends, who not just lots of friends, but quality friendships. And I learnt through that. And I did definitely have a group of neurodiverse friends that probably very much in the same boat. They had no idea. But in terms of schooling and testing, everything from that point became harder. And I often share that what I used to do was every term I would rewrite my notes. and I would have my colour-coded pen, I would have a brand new book, I would cover it in Duracell, write out my term 1 book. Every term I did this. By the end of the year, I would rewrite all 4 of my term books and have one book at the end of it with all of my notes. And I retained none of it. Like, not one bit. And so I was asked by teachers to not come and sit exams. Although I was attending all the after-school classes, lunchtime classes, trying to ask questions, they just kind of saw me as a problem that I didn't want to learn, I wanted to disrupt. 100%, I'm a social butterfly, but I was actively trying to learn, but the concepts that they were teaching me just were out of reach. They were never in a space that, like, was designed for me to flourish. They were designed for everyone else to flourish in this baseline of understanding. But then there was me who was working at 100% and getting 0% of the result, and it just became harder and harder, and it just didn't go super smoothly.
I can definitely relate to that because I got to high school and, in fairness, primary school wasn't that great for me, but, you're working really, really, really hard and the results don't reflect that you're working really, really hard.
Absolutely.
In my case, last year at high school I repeated and I actually had the marks go down. In my case, the exam, 2 of them, the actual exam marks went down. And it's not like I was goofing around. I think people might imagine, he was, being a bit slack. But actually, I was, busting my gut.
Yeah.
So that seems to be a really common experience that neurodivergent people, or some neurodivergent people, have in school.
Absolutely. Unless it was like a particular topic that my special interest kicked in. So I seemed to do really well in one subject, which was mythical, I think it was called mythical studies. It was like Greek mythology, essentially. And I dug that, and I did very well. But I think because of all my other classes, my teacher put me in either the troublesome group or not going to do well group, and never once celebrated any of my successes. But I did well. I got excellences every single time, and it just wasn't seen as good. And it's just surprising that like in school, it was almost like there wasn't an advocate for somebody thinking a little differently and celebrating differences.
So what was it like when you left school?
Leaving school was hard. I feel like school gave a lot of routine, right? And that's something that was really important to me. That was getting up every day, going to school for 6 hours and doing what we did after school. When I became accountable to myself, things changed, and I didn't have any idea that I needed different strategies. So I kind of left school, started going to university. I didn't realise that I had such an issue with food. So I was eating I always call it a toddler diet. Like, give me fairy bread anytime or chicken nuggets, it's fine. But that meant that I gained a considerable amount of weight within a small amount of time. And with that, when I was doing nursing at the time, and with that, I was working part-time at JJ's. I was working part-time at a rest home as well. So I was having about 80-hour weeks while encountering nursing, while not looking after my physical health, not looking after my mental health. And I developed a heart condition called SVT, and which means that my heart races a lot faster than on average. But one of the hardest things for me, particularly as a woman as well, is that I developed a stim where I twisted and pulled my hair. And I pulled out 3/4 of my hair and ended up having to shave my little side. And I was essentially bald for 2 years. I had to wear wigs. I had to try and navigate, and I lost my position in nursing because I couldn't keep up with the demands of work, the demands of study, the demands of health, the demands of looking after my house. And in the end, I was the one that ended up with all the consequences. So I had to take a bit of maybe it was about a year off, and figure out what I needed possibly more, it was probably more like I took about 6 months off, discovered that maybe I should follow my passions, and that's where I landed in hairdressing and moved into makeup artistry, where because it was tactile, I had so much more strength. It wasn't me trying to figure out the makeup of a cell and trying to find the right way for somebody to tell me how it works, because paper wasn't working. I had something in front of me that I could practice and play and mould with my own hands and develop skill set based on practice versus on repetition of the same information in and out. So, yeah.
Yes. That seems really common for a lot of neurodivergent people, is that they go through a stage where they do stuff and it really doesn't work, and then they have to figure it out for themselves, something that works.
Yeah.
And that sounds like it did in that case. Would it have been good if you'd been diagnosed, identified earlier? Would it have been helpful?
I think so, because it's this whole notion of how we work, right? It's if I have the certain setup for myself to thrive, and it doesn't mean that I'm learning different content, but if you change the way that the content is given to me, I may have more success. If I had been in school or like high school, university, trying to figure out these really difficult concepts, but if I had somebody in my corner going, all right, so books might not be your strong suit, and learn it, trying to like have this appetite for that information. Maybe it's something different. What is the way that I process, or what is the way that you process? For me, it's verbally. I talk before I think. I talk to think, essentially. And if I had somebody in my corner with a neurodiverse lens, maybe somebody would have gone, hey, Nadia, how does, let's talk about this mitochondrial cell. Let's talk about the dynamic of it. What's your understanding? And just the way that they may have framed a question may have like opened up all of the information that I have absorbed over the years but couldn't connect to.
Yeah. Because the thing that I find useful with talking is that you don't actually have to retain information when you're actually doing that activity.
Yes.
Whereas a written activity, it's you're right, you look up, you're right, and you're having to try and retain it. Whereas the talking is a very natural activity to do.
Exactly. Writing has two parts to it. The writing and the thinking about what you're writing. But I guess for neurodiverse people, there's that third element, and it's absorbing what you're writing and what you are thinking. And that's not easy for some. That's not a skill set some people have. So verbally processing eliminates that task initiation, essentially. They're not having to write and think about what they're writing. They're just processing the information as it comes to them.
Yes, which I think really shows the benefit of, in a work environment, having different ways of communicating. Yes,
absolutely. In my organisation, we put a lot of effort into how neurodiverse people work. So, and how we tend to work is having options to not do the status quo. So if we had an organisation that was like, okay, every one-on-one has this layout, we get notes, we get this, we get that. But that's only going to work for a few some, whether they're neurodiverse or not. Yeah. It's one does not fit all. And being able to, speak to our employees and ask them, or create an environment where they are comfortable, accepted to ask for accommodations, any help, or just maybe adjustments to how things are done, makes a world of difference.
Yeah. And I heard someone use a good phrase for those adjustments: performance enhancers.
Right.
Or boosters. Like they help someone to do their job better than they would if they had to go and use a very narrow process.
Exactly. You want somebody to be to live their best work life, right? Like, what can we do to enhance their skill set? What can we do to enhance their daily life? It's it can come down to little things. It can be big things as well to make a big difference. But if we don't try to do any of those adjustments, we're probably lacking, we're creating difficulty for neurodiverse people, right? I think I'll rephrase that. It's with neurodiverse people, it's kind of like if you've got somebody in your corner and they're talking about, I want you to, I think the point is that I was trying to make was that it doesn't have to be a large thing that somebody does to make somebody else's life easier or better or more enhanced, right? It can be as simple as, hey, if we're having one-on-ones, could we sit in this space over here because it's a bit quieter. It doesn't have the stripy walls with the flickering lights. That helps me focus a little bit better. And a manager being able to turn around and go, absolutely, let's go and sit in that room. We'll just book that every single time. And it's not being a deal. And it just makes somebody thrive in their work environment rather than create their own adjustments to be okay. For neurodiverse people, and I guess most people, small things make a really big difference. And why wouldn't you want to do that?
Totally. And the thing is, they're usually really uncomplicated and don't cost anything. And they're just, as I said, really easy to do. And the thing is, just having that approach applied across an entire organisation means everyone benefits, whether you're neurodivergent, whether you're not. It's fine. It really helps everyone.
Yes.
And I think part of it is just having a culture in the organisation of people saying, hey, I can reach out and say, hey, this is not working, but why don't we try this?
That's exactly it. I think, so I'm the chair of the Neurodiversity Network at my organisation, and one of the things that we're really proud of is that we didn't create a space for neurodiverse people. We built a foundation of inclusion on every level, and every door was opened and every education opportunity was embraced. And now we have an organisation where we're going through some big changes at the moment, and that doesn't necessarily mean just people. We're going through a change from our document management system into a SharePoint system, where we're losing a floor, which is a physical change. We've got a reshuffle in a branch, which means that there is another change going with people. And the moment that these changes are considered, the Neurodiversity Network is reached out to, and it has asked, okay, we understand that neurodiverse people find change challenging or can find change challenging. What can we do to make this change easier for our neurodiverse employees and therefore everyone? And that can boil down to, hey, let's make sure that we've got little documents of cheat sheets on how best to use SharePoint, or let's provide enough comms about this change to go, this is where we're going to be seating when we lose a floor. This is what our workspace station's going to set up like. This is where our equipment is going to go. Like providing enough information so somebody like even myself who really struggles with change has all of the tools in the toolbox to not be blindsided, and understand that, like, let's say with the document management system, moving to SharePoint, that's massive. That changes the way that I work. And so having enough information before that transition means that I may not find it as difficult to adjust.
It gives you time to plan for this, and it provides a level of certainty, even though it's change.
Yeah.
You kind of know what to expect. You can't cover off absolutely everything, but it gives you a strong idea of where it's going.
Yeah.
You can plan, and you can also, dare I say it, ask questions.
Yes.
If you want to.
Absolutely. And that's why we're sought out for, because our organisation, the foundation is understanding and acceptance. So they want to ensure that there are spaces in our organisation where there is questions being able to be asked, that there is no wrong question. There is no wrong accommodation being sought. We have options to ensure all of our staff are set up exactly the way they need to thrive.
Nadia, where do you think an organisation like How We Work would help you, would help others if they're going through, as you're talking, change? Where do you see that?
How We Work can help with changing the narrative from reactive response to responsive response. So rather than neurodiversity being only reacted to when it becomes a problem, it becomes neurodiversity. How do we support so that we can respond to all needs and all wants and for people to feel more comfortable? Therefore, those challenges that maybe that we were encountering earlier don't occur anymore.
Yes.
Or less.
Yes, or less. I don't think we can ever guarantee 100% on anything. One of the things that How We Work has is a space where managers, employees, parents can come and talk.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be helpful for people if they have a space where they can come and talk, particularly if they're in, say, a small business or organisation where they can come and talk to other people and bounce ideas off?
100%. How We Work is an excellent program which combats something that neurodiverse people struggle with a lot, which is isolation. And that's across a wide margin of neurodiverse people. So having a community that we can come to as a staff worker, as a parent, as a business owner, as seeking friendship, relationships, or having those having somebody to come and have a deep dive conversation with about the wonderful world of neurodiversity. The amount of times that even you and I and many others, we can just sit around and talk about neurodiversity and how it looks for us, how it could be supported by others. Like, it just opens up all of those doors that neurodiverse people really need.
Yeah, sort of provides a venue for exchanging ideas and information.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's like a hub of information and a community that comes with it. It's a bonus package.
Yeah. And the thing is that some people will potentially fit into 2 groups or 3 groups.
Yeah.
Especially knowing a lot of us who are neurodivergent also have neurodivergent kids. Like, it's not like we just fit into one group. Often we fit into multiple groups like that. And there's space for that. So if someone's thinking about their kid career, they can go and bounce ideas off other parents in there. But at the same time, someone might have something happening at work and they can go in and talk about that too.
Absolutely. And I think, for neurodiverse people, having a space like How We Work means that when you're meeting somebody or reaching out to somebody, you're reaching out to somebody who fundamentally already gets it, right? Like, there is no... Entering into How We Work is almost like the walls come down almost instantly because you're talking with people who get where you're coming from. You're not having to advocate for your own needs. You're already heard as an individual. You're already supported. And there's no... I think one of the challenges with neurodiversity is sometimes when people want to support, they kind of put you in a incapable bracket. How We Work doesn't do that. It sees you as a capable human being who's looking for connection, who's looking for support, who's looking for some advice or looking for parent of other children who may want to build or learn about bugs, or like thinking of my own children. It's bugs and bugs galore.
Nadia, if someone hasn't been diagnosed, but they have been, and they weren't too sure of what to do or where to go in their work environment, would a place like How We Work be a good place for them to go? Absolutely.
I think one of the big things about How We Work is once we know it's there, people are going to gravitate towards it like a magnet, right? Yeah. Because part of How We Work is creating visibility that there is a space for you. And neurodiverse people who often struggle with isolation will look around their environment often to see where they can go. They, like myself and my organisation, within the first 3 weeks of working there, I was asking, where is a space for me? And if if how we work is presented in organisations and around and on our social media, and how and the spaces that we typically look, they're going to gravitate towards it, because here's the shining beacon of support and community, and just a good sense of understanding. And I think, like me personally, I would have 100% gravitated towards how we work if it was available when I first started this journey.
That's awesome to know, and hopefully it will help other people, because there's continually people coming through and people finding out that they're neurodivergent, and it happens at all stages. It could be someone who's in their 20s, but it could just as likely be someone in their 50s who finds out.
Yeah.
And it's kind of there. And the great thing about it is you don't have to, in a certain sense, publicly identify yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go up to your manager or anything else like that. It's just there.
Exactly. And having that available, and just, the fact that it's just there and available to be able to, like, if we type in neurodiversity support and how we work pops up, that is an instant indicator where neurodiverse people can go, I may have found the right community that I can come in.
Nadia, if someone's neurodivergent and they're feeling isolated, which we know is quite common, there's some practical things that people can do, such as reaching out for how we work.
So I'll speak on in our organisation, in my organisation, where first off, we've got a great foundation where people are encouraged, managers on all levels have a good understanding of neurodiverse supports. But myself, as a chair of the Neurodiversity Network, I understand that a big part of my role is advocacy and awareness, and just being having enough visibility in our organisation that people know, hey, I can come ask Nadia for help. But with how we work, part of that would be, cool, we've got a SharePoint site for neurodiverse people, or we can put it up on our internal webpage, where if somebody types in neurodiversity, how we work comes up. And so they might not want to reach out to me personally, but they may like to come down this avenue with how we work, where they can build their journey independently outside of work, or they can come to myself or any of the other members or their managers, and the tool in our toolbox is how we work, and we can reach out. We can reach out to you, and we can share the link where people can go and explore, and just having that visible to people so that they know that it is available. It's a beacon, right? Like, this is how we work, and this is what we're here for.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. Is there one bit of encouragement you would give to neurodivergent people at work?
I think the best bit of encouragement that I can give is that you are excellent as you are, and asking for accommodations or requiring things to be done in different ways so that you can thrive is the bare minimum, and that people can do for you, because we live in a world that's not necessarily built for us, but we can make the world our own by advocating and standing strong in who we are. I know that I know that I work really hard in every avenue that I can, and I would encourage other people to be your biggest support, because when you back yourself, your life just opens every door that it possibly can. And I just believe wholeheartedly that we as a people have such a unique way of thinking that we can see things that other people cannot. And I just think that's a pretty incredible skill set.
Yeah, no, it is. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I always wish that people feel confident to be able to be who they are and not need to hide away from it. because when you hide away from it, it's just another strategy you're using to compress and mask, right?
And I think that's one of the things which how we work can help with. Be part of it. Won't be absolutely everything, but can help be part of that process.
Absolutely. It's about making your world work for you, right? But the world's getting on board.
Yes, totally.
One of the things that I particularly like in our organisation at the moment that we've started is Quiet Hour, where it's a meeting based on body doubling. So neurodiverse people typically, and it's proven with studies, that neurodiverse people work better when they work with somebody else. And working alongside, they might be doing this different things, but they're doing it together. So essentially this meeting for us that happens once a month is an hour where we all turn on Teams and we turn our mics off and we just leave our screens open. So we're just all on a Teams call, keeping each other company while we're doing tasks and getting work. I find that super productive for myself. But I feel like this is what How We Work's about. It's about body doubling. It's about being able to have somebody in your corner in whatever avenue in your life that you've got, or any avenue in your life that you require support or companionship. We don't necessarily have to. I'll rephrase that. Like, neurodiverse people don't always want somebody just to be there with work. They might want there to be somebody on the journey of parenting neurodiverse children, or added to that, neurodiverse parents parenting neurodiverse children, right? Like having a community and a hub of people who may just be able to body double with you, be present, or have a little bit of a vent session with, and you're not having to advocate why this is hard. You're just talking to somebody who already gets it.
Nadia, it's been great having you here on our How We Work podcast. And I'm really looking forward to having you as part of the community.
I'm so thrilled.